Hi everyone, welcome to our training series on youth ministry programming. My name is Josh Griffin. I've been doing youth ministry for a long time, and one of my greatest loves is to create a service for teenagers that helps convey the timeless truths of Jesus. At the end of the day, I want to think deeply about how we help teenagers hear about Jesus and experience the good news of the gospel. I want to make sure that the weekly time that I'm given to lead teenagers, whether it's a youth group night or a Sunday school class, I want it to be thought through in a way that will help students best grow spiritually. I'm guessing that you want the same thing, and that's why you've shown an interest in this training on programming, right? Now, when I use the word programming, I'm referring to all of those little details that make up the game plan to help us reach the intended goal of our youth service. At the end of my life, I don't want to be remembered simply as a programmer. I'd rather be remembered as a pastor, but I also understand one of the key elements to activating spiritual growth is capturing a student's attention and then clearly communicating God's truth. It's my prayer that in our time together, I can help you increase your skills in programming a youth service a little bit, give you some tips to improve your stage presence, and help you ask good questions about the effectiveness of your current program. All of that, swirled together over the course of these sessions and your own processing and experience and discussions. I hope it lands you in a place to be more effective, that you'll be a better leader, and you'll have a more positive impact on the teenagers that God has entrusted to your care. Now, let me lead out with what I think is an important principle that will help me frame up kind of the entire course. Here it is. Everything is the message. The message isn't just the message, everything is the message. The message isn't limited to the time when someone is on stage speaking from God's word. Now, that's obviously a very important part, like the main message, I get it. But the other parts of the message are starting from the time that someone's invited to youth group until they leave at the end of the evening. Every part of the experience, from the street to the seat, the flow of the night, the tone, the expressions of the host on stage, the smiles, the laughter, the singing and the announcements, the video, or whatever element that you choose, everything is the message. And that's why I believe that programming is one of great value to our youth ministry. I believe that being a good programmer is one of the skills that you need as a youth worker, because programming adds value. In fact, I'd go as far as saying good programming creates an environment where kids are welcomed, where they experience some fun, maybe move them into a time of worship to hear God's word, and hopefully walk away moved by God's Spirit and drawn closer to Him. Now, good programming gives students structure, and the more thought out, the more intentional your program is, the better your experience will be for your students. Good programming also aligns your volunteer leaders. They better know where to be and what to focus on. It helps the right people be on stage at the right time. It helps everyone start on time and keep on track too. So no matter how big or how small your youth ministry is, becoming a better programmer will help you create better environments for your students to grow spiritually and give the right amount of focus to the topics and moments that matter most. So my hope is that you'll commit to becoming a master programmer. Okay, it doesn't have to be ludicrous mode expert, but I hope that maybe you'll just simply care a little more, invest a little more in the preparation for your next youth service so that you can make it better. A little bit of time, a little bit of thought, and some prayer in the planning stage will reap huge benefits and results. Now, way back when I started in youth ministry, unfortunately, I became kind of famous for the Saturday night special. So, meaning that I would wait until the very last minute to program my Sunday morning youth service. So now, with very little time to plan, it's Saturday night, I would scramble to find an icebreaker or a game in some dusty old book. Hey, just a little aside, this is before the internet, so I'm that old. I know. I would get a game and I would grab a devotional to be inspired by for teaching and hopefully just distract the students enough with my amazing charisma that they didn't realize that I hadn't prepped a lesson at all. I hate to even admit that. I'm just trying to be honest in confession here with you, but I was new. I was juggling so much, and I also wasn't aware of the importance of programming. Now, you might be thinking, enough introduction, Josh. I'm here for you to help me plan a better youth service, and I respect that. I hear you. I get it. You're saying, where can I find great games, funny videos, and line it up in a way that all makes sense? Well, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I actually want us to go back to the beginning, like way back, not to the countdown video or the opening song, but further back than that. Because great programming is amplified when we take all of these jumbled pieces and we work them together from the very start. So let's rewind just a little bit. The first key of effective programming is setting up your environment well. You see, a great program starts in the parking lot. A student's first impression from the parking lot to your youth room can be really important. Actually, I suppose you could now these days go back even further and talk about how your social media and what they see about the program before they even show up or leave the house, how that's a critical first impression too. That's another session for another time. But being thoughtful about your meeting environment, it sets the tone for the rest of the service. Before you ever get to the countdown video or someone standing on stage or your signage or lack thereof, it's all communicating something. So before we get to the whole sessions on programming, and I promise you they're coming, I want to challenge you to first simply walk through your youth ministry environment. Wherever that is that you meet regularly for service, walk through it with fresh eyes. Think outside eyes, visitor eyes, like you've never seen it before. So think like a visitor and ask questions of the room that has probably become very common to you. You're in it multiple times a week, but is the signage clear? Do I know where I'm supposed to go if I'm new? How is the lighting? Is it accessible for every type of capability in our student ministry? Are there signs and posters and media graphics that ask a question to get kids talking or paint a picture of what the teaching series or the program is all about? Could a student walk from the car to the youth room and get a little bit excited to themselves, thinking, wow, they have really thought through this. This looks like it's going to be awesome. But part of the environment is how they feel right when they walk through the door. Is there a warm, welcoming experience waiting for them? Think about it. What's the first message they feel when they walk in? Are they met with a smile, a welcoming handshake, a fist pump, a high five, a Baptist side hug, or whatever you're into in your church? Are they greeted warmly? Does your environment have volunteers or student leaders on the lookout for people who are sitting alone or that may be new? Now, here's just a simple pro tip that I think matters deeply. If a kid feels alone, it doesn't matter how magical your games and videos are or how great of a speaker you are. That kid, the whole time, will be thinking about how uncomfortable they are rather than your message. So teenagers need to feel welcomed and connected in order for all of that other stuff that happens on stage to really stick. So are you prepared, or do you find yourself scrambling to track down supplies for the game? I have been there. I totally get it. If your program starts at 7 p.m., at 6:45 when students are starting to show up, is everything so dialed that you're able to really connect with students? Do you have the right amount of tables and chairs or, whatever your room situation is? And I've been in a ton of different youth rooms, and your room setup really matters. But is it welcoming and inviting? Or does it look like a school classroom that they've been trying to avoid? Are there too many places to sit? So now everyone's in the back row and the front row is empty. Is there not enough places to sit? Think about the language that you use from stage. Is there insider language that you get, but a new kid has no idea what you're talking about? All of these are great questions to ask. I know this is before we even get to the actual program. So is the youth room clean? Is it well lit? Maybe there's funny, informative slides on the screen. Does it look warm and friendly to an outsider? Remember that. Not you. You're used to it. It's your youth room. Is there something for them to do while they wait for the service to begin? In our youth ministry, we do simple stuff. It's junior high ministry in my church. So we have cornhole and Jenga and just easy wins to think about maybe in your context too. Give them something to do, because standing around alone isn't warm and inviting to anybody. Is there music playing? Is it at a comfortable volume so people can still have a conversation? We actually have had that debate in our youth ministry. Higher volume music is high energy and fun, but no one can talk that way. Here's what I want you to know. Everything about your space is sending a message. So before you get to the flow of the service itself, make sure the place is ready for people. Thinking through the actual room environment, it's a great opportunity to set the table before we get to serving the main course, the program itself. Okay, there I go. I'm making a food analogy, which maybe feels expected, but I guess in a way, it works. It works. You set the table by creating a welcoming environment. And now it's time to get down to the main course, the program. But first, I want you to process some thoughts in this first lesson before you move on, which I promise we're going to actually start talking about programming soon. Just remember this: everything is the message. And I look forward to seeing you in the next session.